Hello again. Right, so this is the third of the series. I'm basically, like I was saying before, I'm doing as little as possible to this machine. I'm not stripping it all back. I'm just trying to emphasise that you can get these machines, there's nothing really wrong with them. They sew perfectly. All they need is cleaning and oiling and maybe just a slight adjustment here and there. So, and basically it's for someone who's coming into this world of the 201 or vintage sewing machines, just to show you actually how straightforward they are, and you don't really have to make these make it complicated for yourself if the machine is in good working order. And all that's happened is that over the years it's been oiled up, left, and then what happens, the oil evaporates off and starts to what's known as gum up the machine, and that can be built up over the years as well of use. And here we have an actual presser foot, and you can see how all this brown staining is old oil. There's a bit of rust here and there, but basically it's the oil that's dried off, and what happens is then that starts to impede the smoothness of the metal on metal with an oil between it, and it starts to slowly affect the machine. So what we're going to do here is a deep clean, and this should really be done sort of every couple 5 years depending on use. If you do it once a year, that's even better. So basically all I'm going to do here is remove the plates, top and bottom, and clean with kerosene. Unfortunately, kerosene is flammable. It also gives out vapour. It's quite yucky stuff at the best of time. Also toxic. You shouldn't drink it, which is self-evident really. But it is possibly the best thing to actually clean old oil and greases off machinery. It's the old standard. I'm sure there's new stuff out there, but I stick with kerosene because it is oil friendly. You can mix these two and they're absolutely fine together, so you're doing the machine no harm at all with kerosene. Slight cautionary thing on the outside. If you just bear with me, I need some kitchen towel. Always forget something, is that apparently they used to soak the entire machines in kerosene, kerosene paraffin if you're in Britain, UK, I think Australia as well use the name paraffin, kerosene in the US. Is that you just wipe it off as you're cleaning. Just wipe off the edge, of the body of the machine, so it doesn't stay and linger and dry off and leaving a bit of a stain. But I've heard that they used to stick the entire machine in a bath of kerosene, which would have been quite interesting. Certainly a wet one there. Now, so stripping. Removing the plates. So the way I do it is, first of all, remove your needle so you don't get spiked, and of course the needle flat is to the left and you thread from right to left. So the way I remember it is it's like the army. They set off on the left, so it's left, right, so goes in on the left, thread on the right, so right, left. Okay, screw that back down so you don't lose it. Remove the presser foot itself. I'll just take the watch off, checking time. Plate, you just pull back, drop it down about 20 degrees, and it should, and it won't today, pull straight off. Putting it back on, same again, going at an angle about 20 degrees, pop it in and slide in. Okay. This is also after you've brushed off the machine. This is a clean machine, so I didn't remember the brush, but you clean off all the old dust because you don't want it to start to go into the machine itself. I'll be using the Singer supplied sewing machine screwdriver just to prove a point that this can actually be done with this screwdriver. It's not particularly good, it's not good in the hand, I don't like it very much, but I'll just do it for the day, for the example. The other thing to do is that if it is an old machine, it's an idea just to drop little drops of oil on places that you know you're going to be coming to the previous night, just so it aids, helps you basically if the threads are a bit dry. But this is in good state, so remove the 2 screws. Often these can be quite tough to get out, and sometimes I use the angled screwdrivers. You pop them in and you've got quite a bit of twist there compared to, or torque should I say, compared to this. So these are quite a good idea, but I could say, right. Now remove the end plates with that screw, and I'll show you a very clever trick with that one that's very useful. So pop that in there, turn the machine round, remove this cover, and with a very special tool, which is your little finger, you can remove the top plate. If you can't get it out, don't worry about it, don't force it, but it's handy just to remove when you're doing the clean. It's basically on a circular spring there, but it is good to have that so you can actually see from the top. So turn the machine round again. Set that to 0, undo your clamp, and I've got these two, some hand cleaner and a bit of tape just to support the machine as it's tipped over. So you can work underneath with safety. Okay, because if you don't, what happens is that the machine will just tip straight back. Okay. You then get your screwdriver again. Yeah, and this is just to make it easy for you, rather than coming from when it's back in the neutral position. You can then remove these little screws here. Tighten this up first so the 2 plates are together, because there's another plate behind there. So tiny little screws, and basically as well is it saves it from dropping on the floor because you've got more control over it. Out. Then pull the plate off, turn 90 degrees and pull away. Then come to the underneath of the machine. I'll just remove that one as I've been practicing. Get a bit of kitchen roll. Put that underneath. I've got barrier cream on my hands because when I use the kerosene I'll be using gloves, but for this I've got a very strong barrier cream on which protects my hands from oil absorption, and it just cleans straight off. Right, you've got 2 screws on this gear cover, 2 screws on this cover here, and you've got 2 screws on the horseshoe shaped plate. Now, I'll get this off, and these are a fiddle, but I'll show you how I put them back on there. One underneath there. Okay, so when you remove this can here, it won't come straight off. You have to turn it downwards, and if you're putting it back on, you also sort of curve it in rather than a straight pull. Okay, so you've got 2 screws that go on each side of that can. Now this one, you've got 2 screws here, on there, and 1 behind, and they are a bit difficult to get out. But like I say, this cleaning doesn't have to be done that often, so you don't have to do it too often. And that's the other gear cover off. Now the trick I was going to show you, if I get one of these out. Kept it out, of course. Is that this head here can go in there. What you can do with this is you can either put it on the back one, or you can put it on the front one, screw it down like that, and then your screw at the back is lined up perfectly, or the hole is, so you can get that one in. Okay, so that's engaged, screw it in. Okay, so you get the idea with that. Or you can do it the other way around. Screw that down, put the screw in there, and then that one is perfectly aligned to accept your screw. So you can do it either way, but the interesting thing about that also, if you just bear with me, and I'll talk about this tomorrow when I do the oiling, is that if you leave that in there, or you've got a spare one, remove that, and if you imagine I'll show you an oiler I've got, is that gives a better oiling for the gears. You can go through there, get a spare one of these, and when you come to oil the machine gears, it gives you just you don't even have to use a screwdriver, you just do it by hand. So that's my little tip on that one. You then come to the horseshoe cover plate and just remove that. Trying to keep the screwdriver straight on that. Let's sift this one. And you've got one to the rear. When you get the machine back, you'll be able to just clearly see the other screw when you do that. Okay, so that comes away. And that's, well, what I call a horseshoe cover plate, and that just tucks in there and around there. Okay. Now, what you do now is you turn it back up, remove your bobbin. Now, the thing about these bobbins is the cotton is, I'll have to remember this word, proper word for it is hygroscopic, which means that it can absorb water and it will take water vapour out of the air and it will then start to become damp. Now in the UK, quite a few of these machines end up in people's garages. You know, they don't want to store them in the house. People that don't use them, you know, it's their granny's machine, they keep it for sentimental value, and then the machine ends up in the garage, which is nice and damp, and these start to attract damp, and the problem is then this affects the whole the rotating hook and the bobbin case, and particularly the retaining screw on the top. So it's always best to remove these if the machine is going into storage and not in a garage. It's a kiss of death to these machines. So keep them warm, keep them dry, and it should be okay. But best to remove the actual bobbin with cotton in, because it will start to absorb water. Right, which then leads to big problems, which I'll explain to you later. Now, with the now I'll just get the other one so you can clearly see. I'll just remove the rotating hook and explain to you all about that. Because there's 2 or 3 areas of this machine you have to give special care to, or special attention to. Right, this is the rotating hook assembly, and you have the bush which sits in the machine, and this drops in the top, and your gear is at the bottom, which faces upwards. Now the central hole here is actually a entrance to a small oil reservoir. and if I just take up, you may be able to see it in there. This is often forgotten, and when you take your bobbin out and you look down, if that's full of lint, then there's two things that have happened. First of all, the lint is most likely dry, so there's been no oiling. This oils this shaft and for the bushing as well. So it's a very important, as all oil holes are, very important for this to spin comfortably within its bushing. So that needs a lubrication of oil. Now, if I take, just get the screwdrivers. Nothing fits. So I'll take, first of all, that's the screw which holds the rotary hook in place. Now, you're advised on the on some YouTube channels that these are easy to remove. They are not, and there's two things about them. First of all, these can actually corrode into the top there, which then makes them extremely difficult to do. This to remove. This is this is off the Mark II. That had a bobbin case, sorry, a bobbin in there, and the cotton had attracted oil and the whole lot corroded. So this is not a nice shiny thing, it's been rusty, and it took me a long time to get this one out, but I'll explain to you more about that. So these are not easy to remove if you have to remove them, and if you're new to this world, personally I wouldn't have a go at removing them, for the simple reason is that there were 3 people on another site who saw YouTube and they went in with the screwdriver, and they advise you to, if I just show you, advise you to put this screwdriver attachment on or whatever, grab that and turn, and it comes straight off, and that's how the manual shows you how to do it. But the thing is the manual is now 90 years old, the machines are now in the 90s, and that's not really taken into account of being heavily gummed up, rusty parts, corroded parts that have gone in together. And basically, if you do that, you may be very lucky and it may come away, that's fine. But the thing about it is that you put excessive stress on the machine to the point of where you will damage it. I will show you how to remove that if you have to. Personally, I do, but I feel as if I know what I'm doing with them because I'm exceedingly careful with them. So there was people on this website, they did this and they broke their hooks. So you had 3 where the screwdriver just flicked out, they removed the bobbin case and they damaged their hooks, they broke them, which then makes the machine just useless. You know, you're looking for new parts. So to show you what I'm really trying to aim at is that you've got this wee hole in the actual shaft of the rotary hook. Okay, so you put oil in there, comes out there, it spins, but the other thing about it, that's its primary thing, to lubricate that shaft as it spins. But the other thing is it has a secondary thing of oiling the one of the gears, okay, but it doesn't really do it enough, and it's a pity really, because I think Singer missed a bit of a trick there, because if they maybe had increased that hole slightly and maybe put a groove in, and I'm thinking about it. I've got a lathe in the garage, and I'm thinking about putting a groove or a spiral down so that you can add more oil and then oil this gearing on the left hand side, but that's a different story. So to cut a long story short, which I think I've gone on a little bit, a little bit too much on that, just bear with me. See if it just catches. Okay. So that's back in place. And out of all this, this is the hook. So you've got to clean that hole out. And the best way I found is to get a pin, invert a pin, and tease all your lint out of that hole. Clear it out, clean it out, and then what I do is, when I'm happy with that, is I add a bit of paraffin or kerosene and flush it in. I then get a piece of kitchen roll, and just pop it down the hole, and as you can see, it's quite dirty. Keep doing that, and you just keep going, and then keep reflushing a bit more, and then keep cleaning it. It's a very important hole, this, and oil hole, but it is always forgotten. The number of times out of 13 machines, I can say half of them have had no oiling down this area. And there you go. And what you'll do, keep flushing out. Is you start to become cleaner in there as it melts down any old sort of oil or crud or anything. So you get your gloves on. This should be done really outside, in a well ventilated sort of garage or shed or something like that, and you don't need much of this stuff. And I also use a curved one as well. So what you do is get a little bit on a toothbrush, and you start scrubbing everything inside that you can see. And gently turn a little bit, and then do a bit more, move things around a bit. Once you've done that one, and make sure that's freed up. If this is very loose for whatever reason, and sometimes they're going off stitch length, they start to alter a little bit. There's a big screw just there. Tighten that up, and that will tighten that stiffness up. Come to here, if you've got any lint in there, you brush that away. Okay, and you give this a good scrub. Now, you would say, oh, well, I want to remove my bobbin case. I've seen something about bobbin cases, how to remove them. Don't do it now. Do not do it now. The reason being is that when this has been oiled, the retaining spring, if you like, welds itself to the actual casing of the rotating hook body. So don't do that yet. You've got to let the kerosene do its work, and I do recommend that you leave it at least overnight, if not up to 24 hours, before you attempt to take that retaining clip off. Because if you try to take it off too early, before you've done all the kerosene paraffin clean scrub, your temptation is to prise that off, because it won't just sort of click out as it should do. So you've got to give it time. You've got to give it a good scrub, let it penetrate it into all the areas, and it is very penetrating. Is kerosene. So you leave that there. So you've cleaned your hole out, and you've got all that. Turn it slightly, give it another clean, and again. Okay. So that's that. Then turn to the end and start scrubbing again. Really getting deep here, give it a good scrub. Just be careful of your finger pointer here. They are a little bit sensitive, so just make sure you've got it down there when you do that area, and do it gently, because in theory you could bend that, and you don't want to do that. And that's really the only sensitive, I suppose. The spring may be a bit sensitive as well, but give that a scrub. Like that. Now, because I'm trying to go on the non-strip road, your presser foot needs to be cleaned as well. So you get that clean. What I do is I take the whole assembly out, clean it, and then put it back in. Very, very simple to do, but if you're a bit apprehensive, I'll show you later on how to actually do it. But if you're a little bit apprehensive about doing something and you don't want to harm your machine, then I'll do it. I'm just going to do it in situ. But there is one thing you can do, is that you've got to make sure that this is free moving as well, that this screws up and down. So you can unscrew that. Okay, and then gently raise your spring, turn it slightly anti-clockwise to compress the spring, and you've got a little washer that comes out. Your spring can be removed, and then you can clean this, not putting too much pressure because it's not supported at the top, but just to clean that out. You come to your thumb screw adjuster, get a brass wire brush, and just clean that off. Not a steel one, just a brass one. Just gently clean. That will clean all of the threads. And the other thing is you can pop. Let's see, I've got a pencil. can pop the little wick out the top. I should have done that with something that wasn't metal, and a pencil or a chopstick or something like that is better. Remove that, get some bottle brushes, dip in a bit of kerosene, which I won't because it will go everywhere. You really do need your worst clothes on to do this, and you just clean that out, okay? Because the bar has to go up and down, okay? So this is essential that this is oiled and that it's clean. So you pop your wick back in, and you recess that down slightly, okay, so that when you put the oil in it doesn't go over the top, it goes straight into the wick. You've cleaned up your spring, and you twist clockwise. So what happens, that actually narrows the spring down, okay. Put that on there, your little washer, drop of oil on your thumb screw, and if it's a bit stiff, go down 2 turns, back it 1 turn, go down 2, back it 1 turn. And what that does is clean your threads out and make this a smooth operation for when it then compresses down. And the trick is take it all the way down so the threads have been engaged and you've got all the oil in, and then bring it down. Very, very simple to do, not a problem, but I will show you how to remove that, and it's very, very simple, but I'm sticking to the plot, as it were. Now, come round the back. I'll just give this a bit of a wipe. You then have another area of interest, which is just there. Now that's the bushing that holds the down shaft, which is that one there, if you can see. I'll bring that forward in a moment. And in this bushing is a hole, an oil hole, which you need to clean out, which is very, they've been very, very clever how they've designed this machine. What happens is when you put oil on there to oil your top gear here, any waste oil will run down, and it usually ends up on the shaft, top of the bushing, and then any more waste oil will then drop down and go down that hole also. So any waste oil is used to then lubricate the shaft. Very clever. It's picking up the waste oil, but you do have to clean them out, and you do have to oil that. And this is the whole problem of when people grease these machines. They are then cutting out or stopping the process of lubrication of this machine, and you're just asking for trouble, because in years to come the shaft will become worn. It will start going off centre, and basically you get a poor running machine. And when they grease these gears, it's so wrong. And I'll keep reiterating this because it is on YouTube on a lot of channels now, saying, oh, I grease them with that, I grease them with this, and basically they are stopping this, one of the processes, because this is a gravity fed machine of oil, okay? You interfere with it, you're going to get a bad machine. And if you want a super smooth purring machine that you're going to hand over to your great grandchildren, stick with the people that made, designed and tested these machines, who know what they were doing, not somebody who's just, you know, made it up. Oh yes, you grease the gears. On some machines, yes you do, like the 221, you do have to grease the gears, but not on a 201. Do not do that. And I'll come back to that again. So the thing is, you then go in. Now, with this, as you clean, you've got to be careful that you don't get your toothbrush stuck on the gears, because the gears will grab your toothbrush bristles. So you do a clean, turn, clean, turn, clean, turn, clean and turn. And you can see actually the damage that was done to this machine, because it was in a terrible state. It'd been in a flood or something like that, been put out in a garage, and it was totally rusted underneath and totally froze up due to the rust. They grabbed the hand wheel and gave it a good yank, and it shredded some of the actual teeth, and they're a bit damaged in places, but I managed to get it back. It will be on Singer 201K/221K sewing machines on Facebook. I'll post what this machine was actually like, and then you can see what happened with it. Now with the kerosene again, go down that hole, and the thing is, I've got the two down here, and I'll show you clearly that hole, because sometimes they're a bit depending how they're being put in, sometimes they're out of view, sometimes they're in view. So there you go, and you turn it, and then that will go down to the shaft. You've also moved that about, clean all over the areas, and then move your stitch lever and clean. Then what do you do here? Yeah, you can then get your curved brush, looking at the top, and you can clean all the area. And the thing is, because I've taken the plate away, I can see what I'm doing and where I've cleaned and how badly it needs it. Okay, so that's the top done. Just give this a bit of a wipe over. It gets everywhere. Move that back. Using a jar and something soft to protect it. Tilt back. Okay, that's stable. You then clean underneath. Now there's one area that I will show you, is this area here. In here is a simple bearing, and nobody really talks about it much, but it's all part of the machine. These 9 times out of 10, these are frozen, and they really have to be removed and unfrozen. I can't really think of a way of doing it on the machine. You have to take it out, but I will show you how to do that. But the thing is, first you need to get all this bit unfrozen as well, which is the big screw. For this actually adjusts your dogs so you can do free motion. So this needs special attention. If you can see that it's moving, then just leave it. It will be fine. But if you think it's frozen, and I'll show you roughly how to do that, is that, and I'll come back to that in a moment. So you're going to clean the gears. So you scrub, get everything scrubbed, turn, clean again, turn, clean again, and turn. It may actually be better to go outwards there. Scrub all around, work it in. You've got the two bushings here for the transverse rod, and you've got two holes, oil holes, which are there and there. Now these are a bit strange because sometimes they're totally vertical, sometimes they're pointing towards you. It's the way they've been put in. In theory they should all be in the same orientation, but they're not. So the thing is, give that a squirt, get some in there, get some in there, and turn. Keep cleaning, keep cleaning. Then you come to your end of your gears, which turns the rotary hook. Give that a clean, good clean, and again, and again. Right. And this is part of the point. Here you can clean underneath the rotating rotary hook, and you can give that a good clean, get down there, give that a good clean, and down there, give that a good clean. So you can clean it 360 degrees. So my question is, if everything's working okay and you've managed to clean underneath, why would you want to remove the rotary hook? Sometimes you have to if you've got threads that are knotted round, you know, they've got caught underneath, or you really want to go for a deep clean by removing parts and cleaning each bit out. But it's up to you really. Out of 13 201s I've done, 6 of them, to remove the rotary hook with that little screw at the top, were very difficult to remove. They don't just come out easily. So the thing is that you've got to work on balance, what to do for the best. Do you do it or don't you do it? If you don't do it, you're not going to do any harm to the machine. If you do it, you may potentially damage the machine, but that's entirely your bag what you want to do. So back to this little bearing. Let's clean all this area. Turn it slightly, and again, and again. Difficult to get to. Now, this screw here is usually frozen up, so leave your machine 24 hours, let the kerosene get in deep, and then what you do is you get your screwdriver, which is that one, but it's not a particularly good fit. It's a big old, you need a reasonable sized screwdriver to get in there, and you go anti-clockwise, and this will unscrew. Sometimes they're very stiff because they're badly gummed up. Pull back, and that lever there drops your dogs. Then what you do is screw that in, and your dogs are down and locked. Raise your dogs, unscrew again, pull back, push up the lever and go in. Always badly gummed up and always usually frozen up because people don't use the dogs. But the thing is that on here, when you drop your lever, it brings the bearing up, and I may just bring it round a little bit more. Your bearing flicks up. Now, if you can, it's difficult to see what's happening with it, and I can, by putting excuse me, by putting my finger on there, I can see that that's turning. So what I've done here, and we'll get it in the same orientation, is, and this is really sort of how they come. They're all badly gummed, okay, and then you press the lever down, but then that brings the bearing up, and what I'm trying to do is seeing if that will turn. If it turns, I don't have to do anything with it apart from give it a good clean. If it doesn't turn, then it's frozen, then I have to remove this, and I'll show you how to do it. Very straightforward, very easy, not difficult, and I can do you blow by blow on how to remove that, to then remove the bearing. And basically what you do is you soak it in kerosene paraffin overnight. No WD-40s, no penetrating oils or anything like that. You know, wonder stuff that will do this. The only thing I use is kerosene or Singer oil with a 50-50 mix with kerosene, and use that as a deep penetrating oil to get into places, and wait. It's not a case of spray, walk and then straight in with your screwdriver. It's not like that. If I've got a badly frozen machine, I will scrub with kerosene, maybe do a 50-50 mix of oil and leave it at least overnight, sometimes longer, and keep adding to and scrubbing in, and eventually it will penetrate, the oil and the kerosene will penetrate in and start freeing up stuff. You know, I don't rush these jobs. It really is not a case of spray and then get your screwdriver in and you find that your actual wonder stuff hasn't done anything. It is a labour of love, so you just take them at your own speed, nice and easy, leave them overnight, 24 hours, even longer, and you get the benefit of it because things become easier. Right, so scrub these two ends. Yeah. So everything really gets a good clean underneath. Turn again and again. So you're working the kerosene in. You've got the two little joints back there. Get those clean. You've got the two ends. No need to take these out. Not at all. They're fine. You can see that everything's working. Why would you want to start taking it apart? Whoops. Put that back. And even with kerosene, it's now moving nice and smooth. And when you see photographs of this machine, of how it was, you wouldn't believe this machine's still working. I spent a lot of time on it, but it was worth it. Right, so you've got some paper underneath there. You let that drip dry basically for overnight, certainly maybe up to 24 hours. Just leave it, just let it drip. And what you can see here already, even on, it's taking the muck out of the machine, out all the dirt, all the crud, and it's already doing its job. So